Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Suited Kings podcast. Today, we have a bit of a different episode. We're doing a little study session here. I played a little cash game session the other night, and I just saved a bunch of hands. And Max and I are going to take a look at some of them. And I think a lot of times when we review these hands, a lot of times they're these big all-ins or these flashy hands, which a couple of them might be. But some of them are a little bit more subtle spots, but I think they might be spots that just come up more frequently. And it's probably more important to review those so that you can just be ready for anything in your normal poker session. So
Yeah, well said, Wes. I'm looking forward to, going over this because truthfully, I'm a cash game fish, online cash game fish, I should say. I definitely prefer live
no,
cash
no,
games.
you're really good. You should play me more.
Okay, yeah, exactly. But and one thing also I want to mention to the listeners is that in 2 weeks from now, on the 12th of February, we will be releasing our Patreon. Patreon is I don't even know. There's a good description for it, but I'm probably going to slaughter this. But what it is it's a platform for us to add additional content that we don't, cover on the podcast. And then it's a way to support the podcast. So you can do small, $3 monthly subscriptions and stuff like that. It's all going to be very cheap and very, easy to access. And we're going to make content specifically for Patreon. So we'll be doing a lot of stuff like this, like cash game hand reviews, different
Yeah, like a screen
continue.
recording of an online session, or at least part of it, or maybe a final table that you and I just like talk through.
Yeah, yeah. And then just finding different like with our last episode with Jason Hoffman, if you haven't listened to that yet, he goes over a bunch of different he uses a bunch of terminology that a lot of people weren't familiar with, but we got a lot of feedback that people really enjoyed that episode, but would love to learn more about these different concepts that they're not familiar with. So we'll use Patreon to really dive deep into those different concepts so that you can, learn them and then use them in your game as well. So we really look forward to releasing all this content. We've been recording a ton of different videos and stuff like that to provide for you. And again, this is all going to be, pennies on the dollar, cheap stuff. So looking forward to getting that stuff out. Expect for that to release on the 12th. That's
February.
tentative. That's the plan, February 12th, and yeah, looking forward to that. And just a heads up, the podcast will still be here. We'll still be doing it every week, and this, but yeah, that's just we look forward to doing that. So
yeah, just to add on to that. So basically, on Patreon, how it works is you can kind of contribute any amount you want if you just want to support the podcast. This podcast will always be free. Max and I do this because we enjoy it.
yep.
Love putting it out there. But if you'd
But
like
we need
to
gas money.
we need our gas. We need our, sometimes we go on downswings, whatever it might be. But yeah, there will be additional content, and there will be some sort of tier that you have to hit in terms of it'll basically be like a subscription the way we treat it.
And I think one thing
all the details are we don't have all the details right now, but that will be out there. There will be a lot of, I think I would consider it pretty good study content.
Yeah, great study content. One thing I want to add to that, Wes, is that like this will be compared to like buying a subscription to like a training database.
Yeah.
I'm not going to name names, but most of you know what a lot of them are out there. This will be significantly, more affordable than doing that stuff. So, and we will have a lot of focus study and stuff like that. So if you're looking to improve your game and support the podcast, even just for a couple bucks a month or something like that, we will be releasing that content. And that's all, on you. If you want to do it, do it. If not, cool. Just keep listening to the podcast. We appreciate your support just, by listening to this as well. So whatever happens, we appreciate having you here and listening. And thank you so much for all the feedback you've been giving us. And I guess without further ado, Wes, or did you have anything more you want to touch on that?
The last thing is, I was just going to say this episode is probably a decent preview of some of the types of things we're going to have on there.
Okay, perfect.
Just these like maybe a little quicker hand reviews, and then like I said, we'll do those. Those
let's watch.
Of our screen
let's watch the ultimate fish thrive in his habitat here.
There we go. Okay, so here we're in a cash game here. 5-10. I think most of the other hands that we're gonna look at are at a 1-2 table. So for this one it's a 6 max table. We get 2 red queens under the gun. Min raise, folds around to the big blind, 2 calls. Now, I'm 100 big blinds deep. The big blind here is actually, he started with 32 big blinds,
Can I
32.8.
can I pause you for a second, Wes?
Yeah.
What can we deduce from from the big blind only playing that stack in a cash game immediately without even seeing anything?
He's definitely a rec player. Now, I will say I've played with him a decent amount. He's not like a complete fish, but he is definitely a little bit more on the nitty side, which
Okay.
is something we'll keep in mind here. And yeah,
What I was
he
yeah.
tends to short stack.
Okay. Okay.
High end.
What I was trying to get at is, typically for professional players who play online, they're always topping up. So they're usually going to be always sitting, especially, on a site like this where topping up means 100 big blinds. It's the most you can have at the table.
Without
But
winning, obviously. Yeah.
yeah, without winning, exactly. So just like the base stack, when we see opponents that aren't topping up to 100, we immediately kind of start, judging a book by its cover. We start thinking, not that you can just outplay this person, but it makes, you can kind of figure out, is this person actually a regular professional type player? And usually it's not the case when they're not topping up. So,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So it's good to keep in mind for this hand. So pot is 4.5 big blinds. The flop comes 10 of spades, 9 of clubs, 6 of clubs. And this is a board that I'm going to do a lot of checking on as the pre-flop aggressor versus big blind in general.
yep.
I will say though, this is a pretty good hand to bet. And the fact that he only has 30 big blinds is like, I would be fine getting in 30 big blinds with queens on this flop. If
Yep.
he had 100, I would be a little bit more wary of trying to get stacks in here.
Okay. And
But
Wes, real quick, I just want to let the listeners know this episode I will be releasing on YouTube for visual aid if you are a visual learner. So make sure to check it out on YouTube, which the link will be in the description, and follow along that way if you prefer that way. So we got the 6, 9, 10, 2 club flop. Continue.
yeah, so our opponent's going to check here. And on boards where we might decide to check sometimes, the times we do value bet, I tend to go bigger. It tends to, this might not always be the case. So, oops, we sped along ahead there a little bit. But so, sometimes I'll go just go 30%. I have the 30% button, you know, as one of my
Okay.
C bet sizes. He only has 30 big blinds, so I'm not going to necessarily go close to pot, but I went about half pot here. I guess 2.38 big blinds, so just over half pot. My plan here is if he raises, I'm actually probably just gonna
Stuffing it
shove
in.
because
Yeah.
there are enough bad turn cards where I'm
Yeah.
comfortable just getting it in
Yeah.
here. He
Yep.
calls.
Not a great turn card.
No, so we get the 7 of diamonds. So now it's 6, 9, 10, 7 with 2 clubs. So any 8 makes a straight here. Opponent checks, and I think I have a pretty clear check back. I don't think I'm going to get called by one pair unless it contains a club draw. And he's going to have a lot of straight. He could have 10-8 suited, 9-8 suited, maybe 9-8 offsuit. He could have flopped it, although I think he would have check raised it. He could have
Okay.
6-8 suited, pocket eights, 8x of clubs down to, he probably folds 8-3 of clubs and 8 deuce of clubs pre-flop, but like any other 8x of clubs. He could have any jack 8 suited, that was an open ender. He could have queen 8 suited, which is double gutter, which although we blocked that a lot. And then
Yep.
ace 8 suited, king 8 suited. You'll notice I'm saying suited because in cash games, you do need to be really tight compared to a tournament. Like versus my under the gun open, he should be folding like, a 10-8 offsuit, like a lot of these offsuit hands that you would defend in a
Could
tournament.
be, but in reality, a lot of times you won't see that. However, this is 5-10, you said, so potentially you will see more of that correct play, I suppose, compared to like, say, a 1-2 or 200 no limit game.
Yep. Yeah.
Uh,
So, anyways,
let me add in one more thing here. Wes just mentioned all the combinations of eights that our opponent could have. So on this flop of 6, 9, 10 with 2 clubs, and our opponent only have 30 bigs while we have 100, we are not afraid to get it in. But immediately when the 7 of diamonds comes in, and all of a sudden that our opponent can have all of these different combinations of straights, our strategy immediately just changes around to trying to get to showdown value. are
Yep.
trying to find showdown. So, for
Yeah.
that's kind of for the newer players that aren't, as aware.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. And then so we check back. The river is a seven of spades. So the flush misses, but now we're still worried about the straight. And he also could have had some 7x. He could add a gutter with a 7 on the flop.
Yeah. You
Um,
counterfeit two pair now, but in truth, our opponent never has 9-10 because he would have probably either, jammed on the flop or raised on the flop. So we're gonna remove the nine
Probably.
tens, which you now beat, and then six
Yeah.
nine. I would assume he would probably raise that as well. So I mean, our opponent probably just doesn't have too many two pairs here, um, on the flop.
Flops
That
two
is
pairs. Yeah.
flop two pairs.
I agree with that. So now but actually my thought here was if he checks, I don't expect him to really check a straight or
Mhm.
really a full house. Like if he has a full house, he'd go for a check jam, but I think he's going to play fairly straightforward just based
Check
on
check in maybe 10x's and 9x's. So I'm assuming if he checks you, you're gonna actually bet for value at this point.
yep, I would bet for value here. Probably something around 3/4 to full pot.
And that's
Just
targeting for top or second pair.
yep. Yeah. And it's something where if I had king, queen, king, jack, I might use those as a bluff. Um, he now
Interesting.
decides to bet. He bets full pot. He clicked the pot button, so 9.25 bigs. So I guess $92.50 into 92.50.
And now I'm curious to see what you do because this is where things all of a sudden become interesting. Like, do I have the best hand?
This is the decision point that we want to get into, and I think when we analyzed the flop and turn, it's more to lead up to what we're gonna do here.
Okay.
And so here's what went through my head at the given time. So my first thought is like, let's remove ourselves from the type of player for a second and say, okay, do we beat value? Not when he takes this sizing. If he bet like a third pot, I could see him having like ace 10 or something. And I'm not even saying I could see a solver um wanting to value bet 9-10 or ace 10 or something. But
Mhm.
in
But
reality,
they wouldn't use this size though, would it?
I don't think they would with that sort of hand. So I don't really think we beat any value here. And the second question is, okay, what about is this hand a good bluff catcher? Well, one hand that makes a lot of sense for him to get here with that is, you know, that would be a bluff is Queen Jack, flopped an open ender.
But you block that heavily.
We have two queens, so now there are only 8 combos instead of 16. So we've already cut down a lot of the potential bluffs. He could turn like ace x of clubs, king x of club, any two clubs really, 5-3 of clubs even into a bluff. Um, Apart from that, like, and this is not even a player dependent thing yet. We already kind of went over the combos, but he could have all these different combos of eights. He could have, and we haven't even talked about it, but he could have 6-7 suited or maybe 6-7 off even. He could have a combo of 9-7 suited, two combos of 10-7 suited. He could have pocket sevens. That's only one combo of quads, but he has, the jack 8 suited, all the 8x of clubs. Well, he has a lot of eights here. And then the last thing I took into account here is that he is kind of on the nitty side. Um,
Yeah, as you said at the beginning.
I don't think he would take something like. I certainly think if he's leaning one way, it's going to be an under bluffing
Yeah. Yeah.
play.
Do you
And
think he's ever taking a 6 here? Because obviously, I think if he has a 9 or 10, he's taking it to showdown. Do you think he's ever turning a 6 into a bluff here? And I'm assuming your answer is going to be no, considering because you think our opponent's tendency is nitty. So I'm assuming we're kind of
yeah,
just removing
and
turning those into bluffs.
I am kind of removing that from consideration. And I also think that would actually probably be an overbluff because he can win at showdown sometimes with that. If I
Yeah,
have
because you
like,
have a lot of just Broadways and stuff like that.
yep. Um, the last thing I'll say is when someone, especially like a recreational player, goes exactly pot sized, it and I could be wrong, but I think it tends to lean towards value.
Okay. I'm definitely feeling a fold coming here.
Yeah, so putting this all together, I decided to fold, and we don't get to see what he had, but
But you know
um,
what? And that's one thing that I think is super important as a poker player is a lot of people will just pay off to see what the opponent had in a situation like this. Oh, I got beat, I got unlucky. And it's
yeah,
like, no, like you take when you can make folds like this, you're profiting
exactly.
because that money
If
would have, it's just money, more money you would have lost. So,
yeah, and if you think about it, it's like he bet full pot. I'm getting 2 to 1. I need to win over a third of the time to make a profitable call. Like just because it's possible he could be bluffing, my thought is it's going to be less than a third, you know.
yeah.
And so
Uh,
yeah, that's well said. Like we do profit when we save these bets.
and this is a great I mean, literally everything you win over points to him having the best hand by this river. So, this was a great hand to go over immediately. This is nice. Well done. I think you
Thank
played it
you.
great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All
All
right.
right.
So this is an interesting one, and now we're playing 1-2. So we have exactly 100 bigs. The villain in the cutoff here has 130, but so we'll be playing 100 big blinds effective. Um, he opens the 2.5 bigs, so $5. We're in the small blind with ace eight of spades, and we three bet to 11.5 big blinds. That's kind of my standard from the small blind in cash games. Again, against this 2.5x sizing, I should say. It folds back to him and he calls.
Okay.
Um, and this is one I'm actually not really sure about how I played, and it really would be good to review and just go over. So we got a pot of 24 bigs. The flop is 6 of clubs, 4 of diamonds, 3 of spades. So we don't have much going on. We have the backdoor nut flush draw, but
Two overs, backdoor straight draw, backdoor nut flush draw. Okay.
yeah,
But you're out of position with 24 bigs in the pot and you have 88 behind.
yeah, we do. And so one thing I will say too is the villain in this hand, and I believe he's going to be the villain in the next hand. I know him to be very loose pre-flop.
Okay.
He I've seen him do stuff where he opened from the low jack. I three bet the button and he called with ace six suited, which to some people might seem very standard. In a cash game with rake, like that's a big no-no.
Okay.
He probably should be he should be folding ace six through ace nine suited for sure. And in the online cash games, like big deviations like that will compound into you know to
Lost money.
losses, or yeah.
Yeah. For
um
sure. For sure.
when you're playing against players who are playing
So
well,
so before that's interesting. So we think our opponent is going to be extra wide. Well, this board, and you said even up to like hands like
yeah.
ace six. Well, obviously this is a six high flop here. We're out of position with ace high. We have showdown value. We have back doors. I'm assuming our strategy then at this point is to not bluff our hand, but rather check and try and evaluate further streets and our hope we get to see further streets. Like, are you check folding here if you check any bets, or are you see betting always here?
So that's a good question. I actually thought of both. And another note I have on him is he over bluffs. Like he'll take hands that aren't good theoretical bluffs and he'll kind of attack with them sometimes.
So maybe this is a good hand to check call at least one street with.
I kind of like that, but I decided to go with a C bet
Okay. I don't think that's
because
terrible as well because you're still range repping. I mean, you still have all the overpairs, et cetera. It makes sense.
yeah, and I don't know. I ended up going about a third. I went 8.2 bigs into 24. I
Okay.
actually think I don't know if I like this.
Okay.
I think
I
I
kind
think
of
with
do
my pocket eights, nines, tens, jacks, queens, I kind of want to go bigger a lot of the time.
really on this. Okay, cool. I feel like you're going to get so many folds with those hands, and I mean, obviously, we want to get value with those hands. The reason I kind of like this is because if we did have, say, for example, tens, jacks, queens, aces, kings, well, I said that in a weird order, but anyways, if we had any of those hands, like we want to get value with them. They don't need too much protection with just two cards to come. Obviously, they need a little bit. I think, I mean, theoretically speaking, I'm probably very incorrect, but I like this sizing personally, and also I want to add that with our specific hand, we don't need to bloat the pot, and there's a lot of good turns if he calls. So any,
Yeah.
any five, seven, any ace or eight, any spade.
Yeah.
Thoughts
I
on
would
that?
say I don't feel like a five is
I mean, it's
good,
not
but,
if
but yeah, we do have some good turn
I'm not saying
cards.
that's the best card. I'm just saying it get it's yeah. A five
We
is probably
have
not a great card
we
because
have some backdoor equity as well as
you're
some
right, because a
equity.
five would put a straight four to a straight on the board. A three it would be 3, 4, 5, 6, and then like, are we saying we three bet pocket sevens pre-flop? So I guess you're right. That
Yeah,
wouldn't
it's
make much sense.
possible. Yeah, but so we bet just over a third. He calls. The pot is just over 40 bigs now, and we have 80 bigs behind.
This is one of those turns we like here, though.
Yeah, so we get the queen of spades turn. So we have the nut flush draw now. And now, after we bet flop and got called, my plan was to give up on a lot of turns. This is not one of them for two reasons. One, we pick up the nut flush draw, so we have a lot of equity. And two, we would have, we're going to have ace, queen, queen jack suited, queen 10 suited, and queen 9 suited as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
He may float
he,
with those, considering
he,
also those a lot of those hands, considering how you said the player type is.
Yeah, well, he can have ace queen for sure. And actually, I think that's not even loose to float the flop with here.
Okay.
And I think, yeah, if he had king queen suited with a backdoor flush draw, I actually do think he could have that as well.
Okay. Well,
Um,
let's just say this. I mean, say you bet here and he does have a hand like king queen. I mean, he shouldn't be raising that, but for say if he does for some reason, we can just get rid of it, our hand at that point. Like we still only have a backdoor flush draw. So,
it
or am
sort of
I
depends on the sizing here because a lot of times are one thing I always take into account here. Let's say he floated with king jack of spades. I know that's like one combo, but like we actually crush that. And so when we have the nut flush draw, it's like our ace is good a lot of the time. Or
okay?
if he had, I know for sure like there aren't many when we have two spades here. He's not going to have many backdoor spades, but like the fact that we're ahead at least a sliver of the time does kind of
Okay. All
help.
right. So at this point you're betting but it's as a bluff.
Yep. I'm semi bluffing this turn. And when we have 2x pot here, I don't really want to bet like massive, but I don't want to bet small either. Because if I bet small, I just don't think I give myself fold equity. Apart from, he could have floated with like ace 10 of diamonds or clubs.
All
I
in,
think
Wes. All in.
um
All in. All
all
in.
in's not
All in. All
I
in.
don't know that all in is crazy. Here's what I would say
A
though, is
little
like,
2x pot jam.
yeah, I think it's a thought.
I like
One
it
thing I
because
was
you're putting a lot of pressure on, say, sevens through tens.
But I would say that betting medium size here and then jamming river puts more pressure on them.
Okay. Yeah.
And what I would say too is if we jam here, because he knows we can be bluffing or value betting, I think he's going to call with, he could have 6-5 suited and 5-4 suited, which are pair and open ender. If we bet the turn here and then jam the river, he'll just call the turn, but then maybe he'll pick it off on the river too.
Are you jamming any river if you play as such?
No, I would not jam like a 7 or deuce because I think he will have, for example,
Five.
pocket 5, 6-5 suited, 4-5 suited,
Ace five suited.
ace 5 suited. Like we could even be ahead here technically. And so yeah, my thought here is to go maybe 60%, like 24. I wonder. Okay, I went 27 bigs, which is about
Into
a
40.
third.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 2/3 pot. It's about a third of my stack. I'm good with that.
I like how you're judging, past Wes's play here.
Yeah.
You like forgot.
So he calls, and then so the pot is 95 bigs, and we have 53 behind. So
Interesting. Okay. And now it's the 9 of diamonds, but that card really seems somewhat irrelevant. It kind of seems like a banana, or am I incorrect?
no, that's a banana. The 9 of diamonds, excuse me.
Yeah, it just seems irrelevant.
Everything misses. I mean, he could have pocket nines. That's like the one time that makes sense. But
Okay,
in
I guess you're
reality,
right.
like as far as hands he could have, that misses. It misses me completely, and it's gonna miss almost everything that he would have here.
I'm so there's 95 bigs in the pot. You got 53 bigs behind. He's got 85, so he's got you covered. This is where cash games are difficult for me, right? You know, one thing that really differentiates cash games over tournaments is the value of your tournament life. Um,
Yeah, means
and
nothing in a cash
in a
game.
cash game, there's no such concept, right? So like, um, I feel like that could be one of my weaknesses is overusing that logic. But I'm curious. So this is where like I feel like I would be in no man's land. I mean, it sounds like you have that. This is like the river like you plan on just sending it with. So I'm curious to what happens here.
Yeah, and I will say a lot of times when you have a flush draw on the river and you've bet flop and turn, it doesn't make for a good bluff because one of the things you're trying to fold out is a flush draw.
Hmm.
But because it's a backdoor flush draw, and because he can still have some like 6-7 a spade, or he can have actually just forget that he can have any 6-7 suited, like pair and a gut shot.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
he can have uh So there's six combos of pocket fives. There are three combos each of 6-7 suited, 6-5 suited, 4-5 suited. There's three combos of ace-5 suited, which we're technically ahead of, but if we check, we're probably just gonna get bluffed off anyways.
Do you think
Um,
that if he has like combination of like 6-7 suit or something like that, with you having 53 and 95 in the pot and how sticky he seems to be, that he's even going to fold that hand when you bluff?
that's a great thing to think about, and I would put like pocket sevens and pocket eights, and even pocket tens. They're all in the same category where they're all sort of bluff catchers, but or where they are bluff catchers, but like, what is he going to fold, I guess is the question.
Yeah, yeah. And you're representing at this point ace queen or better, right?
I would value jam any queen here. Like even if I had queen 10 suited. Um,
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
I mean, if
I
we
th-
think that he may call with 6-7, then yeah, I completely understand.
yeah, and it's sort of the goal here is to make a hand like that. I guess I feel like a lot of his range is those hands, and then he'll once in a while he'll have a set, right? Like pocket
Yeah.
a flop set, or he could have pocket nines.
Oh,
Like,
oh, Wes, there's a 4 on the flop, dude.
yeah, it's dangerous. Those flop the
You
most
got to be
sets.
careful when there's a 4 on the flop.
So, anyways, we didn't review this hand for me to check, right? So I went all in, and he calls with pocket sevens. So, um,
I mean, this is yeah. That's the scary thing about these play. Well, first off, thank you for sharing this hand, even though your face got melted.
yeah,
Um, I mean, did you think you were going to get him to fold sevens? I guess is my question.
yeah. I thought there was a good chance. I mean, the thing is, I don't know.
Did he snap? Do you remember, or did he like tank it?
Kind
Not
of
that it
in
matters. I'm
between.
just
It wasn't like a full time bank, but it wasn't a snap either. Um,
I
yeah, I don't.
wonder. I wonder what that is for him though. Like in terms of like how is that? That's got to be punty on his part to play as such, right? I mean, he should be folding turn probably with that hand at a lot of the time.
He should definitely call turn. I mean, he has a gutter. He still has like the set outs and the four straight outs. I mean, look, if he knows he's behind, he should for sure fold. But like, there are a lot of maybe not a lot, but I'm gonna keep barreling my ace five suited a lot. Some turn spades, which I'll have like the 10-9, Jack 10, King Jack, Ace 10, Ace 9. I mean, clearly Ace 8. Um, and at least at some frequency, I might fire some other stuff. But yeah, the queen on the turn is not good for his hand or his range, really.
Yep. Well, right.
Credit to him. I don't know. These are the sort of things that maybe when we do our Patreon, we can like throw this in GTO Wizard, which I haven't done for any of these, but I'd be curious what this spot look
Yeah.
like in terms of a solver. But I
Yeah,
think,
that's a
I
great
don't
point
think
'cause
it's
we can really
crazy to
dive.
call or fold. So,
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, eh, yeah. I mean, again, thanks for sharing that one. That's I love that we went all the way through the logic. I think that's where I told you I felt like I was in no man's land by that.
I think he and I both were a little bit,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I agree with that. Yeah, his river call is like, all right, well, hopefully I'm ahead. That's probably what he thought.
And
Cuz
yeah, it was a little bit over half pot jam. So he only needs to be right like 27% of the time.
and I
And in
think that's
cash
another
games, you just,
important stat to remember as well. So like you gave him a pretty good price by that river.
yeah. Um, yeah. And so the question is like, do I feel like I'm over bluffing by taking ace high spades and doing that? Like I
Mm.
might be a little bit. Um, if I had Jack 10 of hearts or something, that would feel way better to bluff river.
Okay. Because
Um,
you have no showdown value.
no showdown. I unblocked spades. Yeah, but
Okay.
that's
All right.
okay. So this next hand is against the exact same opponent, and it's at a different table, but it's like 2 minutes later. Um, keep in mind, he and I have played a lot together over a decent amount of time. So it's not the last hand is not a big factor in this hand, I don't think. At least for me, it wasn't, but who knows? Maybe for him it was. You'll kind of see. So he opens to do now. We both have 100 bigs. We had $200 each at the table. So he min raises under the gun. The player second in position. So the hijack calls. I think it was a rec player. Generally, you don't even want to have a flatting range here. So then the
Yeah.
button calls two small blind folds, and we have king of hearts, queen of clubs in the big blind.
Welcome to 200 no limit, Wes.
Yeah, and I mean, king queen offsuit is going to always be a call here. However,
I like this as a
I
squeeze spot kind of with
yeah, and I should say if under the gun raises and it folds to me, I'm always just
just
calling.
calling, right?
And I think in general that's what I would do. But like when we get this early position flat and then another call on the button, I kind of view them both as
Dead
a little bit
money.
of dead money.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we have a guy under the gun who we know is going to be loose pre-flop.
Can you explain why you just for the intermediate player or the beginner to intermediate players, why what do we mean by them being dead money?
So if we three bet here, which I'm going to make it something like
Hold on.
13 blinds.
Okay, I was
Okay.
gonna make a guess, but continue.
Yeah. They are not going to have hands like pocket aces, kings, queens, jacks, ace, king. They're not going to have the absolute top of range
Yeah.
ever, pretty much. I mean, once in a blue moon, sure. But when I make it that size, if they were to like, they're almost always going to fold. And if they do call, it's not going to be a hand that dominates me.
Hmm.
Um, so maybe they're not they're just going to fold a lot and their money's going to be in the pot is what
Yep.
that means.
Yep. Exactly.
I guess it's not, I would say it's maybe not completely dead. Like they could decide to call with an ace jack suited or something, but
It's just it's an assumption we make that I mean about their range by how it's played so far, being just
correct.
flatting.
Correct. So we raised to 12.5 big. So it's $25.
I'm slightly surprised you didn't go a little bit bigger, something more like 15.
I didn't necessarily think it was necessary
Okay. Okay.
because I kind of view them as dead money. I don't know that they are going to do anything differently,
Hmm.
depending on sizing.
Okay. Yeah, that might be
So
right. That might be right. And I guess one of the main reasons I wanted to, I personally would have sized it up just slightly more is because I'm out of position and these players obviously like don't know correct, assuming, by them, we thinking they're dead money, they're going to, they might just be overly sticky as well as, which a lot of amateur players are. But like you said, the pricing then may not matter between 12.5 bigs and 15 bigs. So maybe my point
that
is,
that's kind of my thought. And interestingly enough, and this is more of a theory based thing, but even though we do go big when we three bet out of position, if there's like a caller or two, it actually doesn't increase the size we want to go that much, just because when we three bet, the initial raiser is going to have to fold more often. Like people have to be more careful in multi-way spots, so we don't necessarily need to make it massive.
Okay.
Again, that's more of a theory thing. Like I definitely see your side of it too. I don't know
I
that.
mean, you're far more studied in these scenarios than I am, so I will take your word for it here.
Yeah, and I don't know what the actual optimal sizing would be, but we have a king queen offsuit, good blockers, reasonably playable. Excuse me, if we get called, and I'll say if we get four bet, this is going in the
Folding.
muck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Um, so the under the gun player, as we kind of alluded to, he calls, and then both other players fold. So the pot is 29.5 bigs, which means there's $59 in the pot, and we have 178. Actually, the villain has 175 behind.
Both about the same stack, though. We'll just say 89 bigs.
Yep. Again here, so we get a flop of five of clubs, three of clubs, deuce of diamonds. Again, we're in this weird spot where I feel like there's a good argument to check, but also to bet. And my thought about checking is like, because any ace high makes a gut shot here. I don't know if we're getting any ace high to fold right now. And I know we have said that like he actually may call with like ace six suited through 8-9 suited, but also he kind of shouldn't have. So
Okay.
it's gonna be what the suited aces he should have here are like ace queen, ace jack, ace 10 suited, and then ace five and ace four suited.
But he could have all the in betweens as well, knowing his tendencies.
Right.
And I love what you said immediately. I mean, that was my first thought. Is like on a board of deuce 3-5 with two clubs, like he's just he we don't expect him to fold an ace here ever. So like if we don't expect him to fold a face or an ace at this point, I'm assuming that we're gonna play check at this point and hope he checks back.
So that I think it's good logic. I also was thinking like, and also any pocket pair isn't going to fold yet.
Do you?
He can have some
Yeah.
suited connector, suited Broadway type stuff that would fold as long as it's not clubs.
Okay, well, I know
Which,
you don't check here now, so
yeah, I do decide to see bet, and I actually don't know how I feel about this. I guess,
small.
so yeah, 8.85 into 29.5 big blinds. So really, that's like it's maybe like 28%. Um,
You
and
know,
my
I,
thought is kind of like we are just cleaning up our equity when we're ahead, you know?
yeah. I mean, but what equity are you kind of cleaning? I mean, yeah, if you were ahead, but I guess my thing is that if I were so right now you're out of position because you're in the big blind, he's under the gun. I would like this a lot more with a hand like this if I was the one in position because then I have the opportunity to get all the way to the river without having to put another bet in most of the time.
Okay, so I sort of disagree because of the way I'm thinking, and I'll explain what I'm thinking about here because my thought is this also is how I would play over pairs.
Yeah,
So
that's
this
fair.
me betting small, it keeps my options open more to represent a lot more stuff.
Okay.
I do have a queen of clubs. Like I can, if a club comes on the turn, I can bluff. Also on a lot of turn card, like just because he's gonna call the flop with his ace 10 of diamonds or whatever, he's gonna fold on a lot of turns too. And so there are a lot of combos that he might float flop with.
So our plan
Um,
is to just kind of, turn this into a double barrel pretty frequently.
yeah, on a lot of turns.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
I would agree with that. So
Okay. I like your logic. Yeah.
yeah, I
Because then you will get those ace highs to fold. But I think it would be a poor logic to bet this size and then plan to fold or just give up on a lot of turns.
I agree with that. If I'm checking or if I'm planning to just make it one street, I would just check either check fold or check call versus like a small enough bet. But
Okay. I like your okay. Now I like it more because now we have a plan to get ace highs to fold.
yep. So he calls, pot is 47.2 bigs, and the turn is the beautiful 10 of
Banana.
hearts.
Yeah.
Not a beautiful card for me for a couple reasons. One, obviously we don't improve our hands. Two, he can have pocket tens and he can have ace 10 suited, as we alluded to. So now there are still things like first, I think he can have probably any ace queen here. I think he can have ace jack suited, and then he can have those like he could have it sort of like last hand, a 5-6 suited or a pocket sixes. I don't know if you really should be calling 5-6 suited against that squeeze, but I think this guy probably will do that.
Okay.
Um, what are your thoughts on this turn card?
I mean, to me, it's kind of banana-y, as I've alluded to. But like you said, he's floating us with ace tens, pocket tens. I think this is the perfect card to now bet like 28 bigs into.
All right, yeah, and I did bet I did something close to that sizing. I think a little less.
So there's
What?
47.2 in the pot. You have 80 behind. Let's see. So if we were to bet, I might be making 20. I'd maybe make 26 to 28 bigs if we are staying on the logic of what we said before.
Yeah. So one and the last thing that went into my mind here is I have a club and I don't have a diamond. And this is a little bit of theory. Not that I'm playing what I think a solver would necessarily do, but I'm using a bit of theory here. Like I don't want him to have clubs because I'm not gonna usually get those to fold. So I block clubs, but I unblock diamonds.
The backdoor flush draws he might have floated with.
Yeah, and now that diamond didn't come in, like that'll give me a few more combos I can fold out.
So I think it's important to take that stuff into consideration, but not rely too heavily on it.
Yeah, that shouldn't be.
These are just small pieces of bits of information you can kind of use to maybe improve your decisions later on in the hand.
Yep. So I decided to bet 28.4.
Oh, what did I say? 28 bigs?
28, you literally, yeah.
Ooh.
Nicely done. And honestly, in retrospect, I don't know. I think I was thinking about this guy can be wide pre-flop. I actually don't know if I love it that much because I don't know, because he can be wide pre-flop. I don't know if that gives him a lot more hands that are going to fold the turn, but
I think the hands we're kind of targeting at this point, Wes, are going to be ace, queen, ace, jack. Because ace, king, we would have heard of from pre-flop.
Mm-hmm.
Ace, queen, probably not. So I'm assuming we're targeting to get fold here. Ace, queen, ace, jack. You block some ace, queens, whatever. Not a big deal. And then we know we're not getting him to fold any pair.
That's the tough part is like, now we can get some pairs to fold on the river maybe, but it also could end up being a situation like the last hand where he just decides to look us up with sixes or sevens or ace five suited, whatever it might be.
This is what I would do, Wes. I like the sizing. How I would plan to play it from here on out is bet that flop, bet the turn with the sizing, and then if I don't hit one of my 6 outs on the river, I give up.
Okay. I would say I would plan on bluffing like I would maybe bluff a club river.
Or an ace, maybe,
or an ace.
At this point?
I would absolutely bluff an ace, although it is tough because not that he's going to have a lot of he'll have pocket fours maybe, and he'll have ace four suited, which is already there.
Yeah.
But he's not going to have too many fours.
Okay.
So an ace, plus like once an ace comes and I already squeezed pre-flop, it's like my range is so like, maybe not so narrow, but it should be pretty narrow where it's like, how can I not have hit something that beats pocket sixes through pocket nines,
All right.
Anyways.
Well, there we go. This is what I'm saying. This is.
Yeah. So again, we have a spot where we have like half pot behind. We river the queen of spades. So we actually have top pair and all of the draws missed too. So that's kind of, it's good. Our top pair is going to be good unless he was trapping a set or a flop straight, which is very few combos.
So we have two options here, right? We check to induce, or we just value jam, hoping to get a call from something similar to what he had the hand prior.
Yes. And against this guy who clearly he can call us down light.
I'm just
Um,
jamming. You got 2 to 1.
yeah,
You got a .5 SPR, right? Is that right?
yeah, and we're if we're behind, we're never gonna save the money anyways if he somehow is a handy trapped.
Yeah.
But I think he's very capable of calling down with pocket pairs,
We've seen it
ace
already.
five suited, or and he could also have like Jack 10 of clubs, 10 9 of clubs, something like that.
I
So
like
we
it. I
go all
like it.
in,
He
and
snaps.
he calls, and we win. So
That's
we just
that's the ideal plan. Double barrel, get there on the river.
get
Double
there.
barrel, then value bet. Double barrel semi bluff. Oh, sorry, double barrel air bluff, and then just get there and value bet.
Yeah, and it's good to. I don't necessarily know if I love how I played the hand. It's easy to feel better about it because I just stacked him.
I feel like you might be torching if you're doing this too often, though.
Oh, I agree. This was the pre-flop was because of the callers that were in there.
Well, right. This has all happened because we had 2 players we thought were dead money in the hand.
Yeah. I will say it's good to you shouldn't only ever bluff when you have a big draw. Like it is good to just think more about trying to fold specific hands out, and having equity is also a good thing. And obviously we did, clearly we had probably 6 outs.
One thing I want to add to that is like thinking one thing that needs to be added to what things we're trying to get to fold out is, do our players' tendencies match to what we're trying to get them to fold? For example, do we
Mhm.
think he's going to fold pocket sevens here?
Yeah, and that's
Like we're
I
trying to get
guess
pocket sevens to fold here. Does he think pocket sevens, or do we think pocket sevens are going to fold here? Well, to this guy, probably not.
now I will say I actually, and maybe he just called with sevens again, but I think when he called me down that light 2 minutes, literally 2 minutes before this, I think if he were in that spot again, people's tendency is to actually fold there because they're like, oh, he knows not to bluff me now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he and I have much more history than that, so I don't think it played a huge role. But I think if you're playing in a live game, it's a good thing to keep
Do
in
you
mind.
remember his name? You don't have to say it on the podcast. I'm just curious if you
I
know.
do, I do.
Tell me it later after
I
off the
will.
podcast.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. If you guys pay us a lot of money, you'll have access to that too. No, I probably
That's
not.
going to be our Patreon, just list of notes on
Yeah,
players
notes on
online.
everybody. That's hilarious. Um,
Okay, so we finished that hand up. Okay, another good one. I really like that you shared those two back to back, and conveniently that they were against the same opponent, where the hand was very similar in a lot of sense. But then, I mean, like you got value on the second one, obviously, but
mhm.
that was cool. I like that. That was fun to go over those two back to back against that opponent. I will say that I feel sorry for you because you stacked him in the 200 no limit and he stacked you in the 500 no limit.
No, both of those were 200.
Oh, I thought the first one was 510, you said. All right, one.
The first hand, the small pot with queens was, but the last two were both at one
I
two.
forgot that we've done. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we've done
yeah.
three now. So
Sheesh. Yeah, I'm getting old.
that's all right. And I actually don't know. I don't remember for sure, but this hand may have actually been against this guy too. This one is not going to be so much about a player dependent thing, and it's not going to be an all in. Spoiler alert, but obviously we have 412 big blinds. So we have what? That's $824. We've won a few stacks at this table. We're in the big line with ace three of diamonds. It folds to the hijack, who min raises. It folds to us, and we're just going to defend ace three of diamonds here.
Do we ever 3-bet this hand in a cash
Uh,
game?
Not these positions. Actually, a lot of times against, maybe against a button open we would.
Okay,
But
okay.
even so, it's like
For my own,
it's
for my
something we,
own,
yeah.
inquiry, however you want to say it. Would that separate between a cash game and a tournament, in your opinion?
In a tournament, I would still be just calling here.
Just kind of try and realize equity with our nut draws. I mean, not nut
Yeah.
draws, but you know what I mean. We
There's a
have,
weird thing where a lot of times, if you look at the cash game pre-flop charts,
mhm.
ace four and ace five suited are the ones that do the three betting and four betting, and then ace three and ace deuce don't. They're a lot less aggressive.
Is
And
it because we dominate those hands? I
no,
mean, we
because
guess
the
you don't really
kicker's not going to
dominate. They
play.
chop a lot,
It
but
is such a minimal EV
mhm.
difference.
Okay.
And it doesn't even apply to the specific hand.
Well, I think
But
in modern poker, you will see, I mean, people are so frequently three betting and turning hands like these, these suited ace X hands, like ace deuce through ace five suiteds. Um, they see, professionals on TV turn, check raising, triple barreling, really playing these hands in an aggressive way. And I think a lot of people, um, they struggle to realize when to do that at what scenarios they should do that, if that makes sense.
yeah, yeah, no, that's a good. And there's so many different things that can go into it. You don't want to just like
Okay.
autopilot.
I didn't want to get too off topic. I was just genuinely curious. So
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm always going to be calling, but against later position, I would against like a button open or even cutoff open, I would do a little bit of three betting, maybe a lot versus the button and a little bit versus cutoff.
okay, okay,
More
all
so
right.
with the ace four and ace five suited.
Well,
So
for those watching the YouTube version of this, they got a little sneak peek at the flop, but we'll go ahead and say it here. So you defend the ace three of diamonds. It's quite a nice flop. It's deuce four jack with the jack and four of diamonds. So you flop a wheel draw and the nut
nut
flush
flush
draw.
draw. Yep. So we got a ton of equity against everything here. Sometimes we're going to be ahead. We check. He bets just over a third pot, 1.57 into 4.5 bigs, and we decide to check raise. Go 6.92 bigs.
And just for those who aren't watching, our opponent has 110 bigs behind, so we're deep.
Yeah, we're deep, and the plan is going to be sometimes to overbet. After he calls, we're going to overbet a lot of turns,
Mm-hmm.
whether we get there or not. And if we had pocket deuces, pocket fours, that's we those are our main value hands here. I think we could maybe have jack four suited, although
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like, and I guess
Obviously, this is there's a flush draw out there, but this is, I mean, in my opinion, a semi-dry board. Wouldn't you agree with that? Just because I'm
definitely.
in terms of the board being kind of so separated, being a Jack four deuce. I mean, if this were a Jack four deuce rainbow, it'd be one of the driest boards. I mean, obviously like Jack five or seven deuce or Jack six deuce. I mean, excuse me, but
Yeah,
obviously there's draws out here. But it's compared to say Jack eight deuce two diamonds.
yeah, maybe. I think it's like from the big blind, it's relatively similar because we can have, and I should say, I was going to say our value is mainly sets. We can also have like the suited variety of all the two pairs, jack
You're
four,
right.
jack deuce,
Okay.
deuce four. And we
That's
can
a
have
great
like
point because you're from the
straight.
big blind, so your range is obviously going to be a little bit wider in the defending.
Yeah, so we'll have some straight draws, but only suited combos. So
Okay,
like
so kind of
five,
disregard
six
what I say.
suited, three, five suited. But you are kind of right. Like if it was jack eight deuce, we would have all the 10-9 offsuit
Yeah.
and suited. Whereas now, so that would be like 16 combos of 10-9, but we only have four combos, just the suited ones of the straight draws. Um, so the value hands, yeah, pocket, deuces, fours. I would actually, and this is how kind of tight you have to be. I would actually flat jacks pre-flop mostly here. And I don't remember if this was that loose opponent again, I would three bet just because I know we're getting value from a lot.
Yeah, you're
But
deviating to kind of exploit how his tendencies. I like it.
yeah, so we'll have sets and we'll have suited two pairs. So that's gonna give us like 17 value combos.
Okay. So he bets.
And I
Go
would
ahead.
say I would probably like check raise ace jack here for value, maybe some king jack too, just like because there are a decent amount of draws and our obvious value bets here. Like 17 combos is not really a lot. So I would check raise some strong jack X as well, just because I know he's gonna call this check raise with any pair. He might float with some like ace X of hearts, ace five, all the ace five suited. Like we can get value with a jack, and obviously he'll call with worse jacks too, right? But we check raise and he calls. Now the turn sucks. It's the
Do you want
four
to
of
say your
spades.
sizings, Wes?
I did, but so
Oh,
I
I
check
meant
raised to 6.9 bigs
okay.
and he called. So the pot's 18.34 big blinds and he has 105 bigs left. My initial plan, if I was going to overbet on a lot of turn cards, would be to go something like 24 big blinds into 18.
Okay.
Um, do you want to like, obviously we don't get there on this turn, but do you,
But that turn is much better for you than it is for the opener.
well, not really, unless because I'm, maybe I would, I guess I'm not saying I would never check raise a four, but this card kind of sucks when we think about what our strongest value was. Like
Like your
now
two
there's only
pairs.
one. Yeah. So first off, Jack Deuce suited is now counterfeited. We lost a combo of Deuce four suited and Jack four suited and two combos of pocket fours. So like our, the amount of value combos that we have now is going to be a lot lower. And I don't think we're
That
going to,
that makes sense. Excuse me.
yeah.
That makes sense for sure, though.
Um, that being said, obviously I still have a lot of equity. I'm not going to just give up on the pot, but I am going to check for those reasons because I don't think I'm going to get a lot of folds on this turn from, I don't see him folding any
So it
pairs.
might be so what so maybe if we were the opponent in this hand, we might think that because this four comes out, that our range is going to be more weighted towards flush draws rather than boats or things like that.
Yeah, it cuts down on the value combos that we're going to have. And so
And
if we look at everything we check raised, when I say everything, just for listeners, what I mean is like any hand that I would have check raised on the flop. Obviously, we only have one hand right now. Um, now less of the value ones exist. So if I were to bet again, it kind of it makes it so if I were to just bet everything again on this turn that I had bet on the flop, I would be weighted too far towards bluffs. And like I
okay.
think um even if people aren't totally thinking about it that way, I think it's an intuitive thing where it's like, oh, not only did the draws miss, but now
What would you do if you had pocket deuces or jack four here? Jack four suited here.
deuces I would keep betting. I think Jack four I might check as a trap.
As a trap, okay. Because you
Um,
unblock.
yeah,
If you, I'm saying if you have the deuces, you unblock the jack X's, etc. Where if you have the jack four, you can trap because you're blocking those hands from him having them.
yeah. And
Okay.
yeah, it's not to say like if I had, let's say I had 5, 6 of clubs here that I decided to check raise as a bluff. I would actually keep bluffing that. I might even like 5, 6 of diamonds. I might keep bluff because he could have like a ace five suited, ace three suited himself. He could have, there's still stuff that's gonna not like to see a bet here. But I'm just gonna bluff. I'm not going to continue bluffing with everything I bluffed on the flop is basically where I'm going with that.
Okay. Okay.
Um so I decide to check. No, I think he does check back, but I think there was an argument for us to check raise the turn. Um but I think I probably would have just check called and then check jam river if I get there.
Okay.
Similar to how I would play Jack four suited, you know. Bless you.
Thank you. Thank you. Sorry, I just got done with this stupid ass cold I've had for a week and a half. Now I got a lingering cough, so I apologize if that's annoying.
Um, the river is the 10 of hearts. This isn't, the interesting part's kind of over. If he had floated with like ace five suited or something, we now chop. But
Are you giving up at this point then?
yeah, I decided to give up. Also, if he had
Just show King Queen of Diamonds one time.
right, yeah, I think I have a sliver of showdown value.
Maybe, I mean, what's something for even smaller than a sliver? Like you have such a small amount of
Yeah.
showdown value.
I
But
should say when I have a bit of chop value, and
I
I
guess you
do
could have
think
like 5-6, 5-6 suited.
I think he would have bluffed that though. Like this is kind of just a spot where I'm going to give up. I think if I make a bet here, everything missed. I think it's going to make sense for him to call a lot of pairs.
Yeah, yeah,
I
I
didn't
agree.
not necessarily, but
Okay.
yeah, it goes check check, and he wins with pocket eights.
I
So
think if you were to bet, he would have called and you would have lost that hand. So I think it's a good give up. I think he would have found the call with eights.
I think so too. Yeah, it's
Well,
not. The story is a little iffy.
I truly think you kind of lost the min after, like you were planning. What I really like about that hand, Wes, is that you lost the minimum after you're about to take a very aggressive line, but because that turn came in as such, you thought about the value that you'd actually have being reduced. So now all of a sudden, I mean, if he thinks in that sort of manner as well, or is on that thought process or that level of thought rather, um, you would have gotten called down, more or lightly with a hand like pocket eights, for example, and then ended up losing a massive pot prop potentially.
Yeah.
I should we go ahead and start wrapping it up from there, Wes?
What are we at in terms of time? We do
Looks like
have
we're at an hour right now.
okay. How about this last one that I was going to pull up? This is a quick one where there's mainly one decision point I want to look at.
Okay, well, let's just do
Let's
it
just
then.
do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got 240 big blinds here. We got King seven of diamonds in the big blind. It folds to the cutoff, who opens the 2.2 bigs. He has 137 big blinds. Stacks aren't really going to matter. We defend the big blind here. Pot is 4.9 big blinds. Flop is king of hearts, 10 of clubs, deuce of clubs. So we got top pair. Um, we're always going to
Not a
check.
bad flop, but I
Yeah.
think we're not trying to get in heaps by any means.
No. So we check. He bets a third pot here. We call. I think
we're
it's
always it's just pure call
yeah.
always, right? Yeah.
The turn is the three of hearts, so it's king 10 deuce 3 with two flush draws now, and there's a lot of potential draws he can have.
I don't plan on folding if he barrels again. That's kind of where I'm at.
And I'm definitely calling. Even if he overbets the turn here, I'm calling because there's so many. There's straight draws,
semi
there are two
bluffs.
flush
Yeah.
draws, yeah. But it goes check check. And the river is a complete brick. It's the eight of diamonds. I guess he could have pocket eights and 10
It would be
eights.
really interesting if he now decides to bet, and especially if he bets large, because he should be betting if he has like a hand, like a big value hand but that's can be beat. He would have bet large on the turn to get to deny equity to all the flush draws, etc.
Well, actually, it would be, but we're not going to let him do the betting here.
Okay, you're gonna value bet.
Yeah, and so this is the decision. So we have a weak top pair, which
Yeah.
kind of can seem like a medium strength hand at times. But one thing we need to take into account is on the turn here, there were a lot of draws, but there were no completed draws. So like if he had any sort of strong king queen, king jack, king nine suited, like he would have bet and
That's
probably
what I
bet
was
large
alluding
with
to,
those.
right?
Yeah.
So we're kind of removing those bigger king X's, and with that, I think he would check back hands like ace 10, 10 jack suited, 10 queens, things like that.
Right.
So, and which we also can get value from now.
Yeah. So my apart from the 10-8 suited and pocket eights, we are always ahead now. And we can conclude when he checks back the turn, it's either like a complete give up where it's,
Air, yeah.
nine, maybe like queen eight of spades, or like maybe he just has ace. He's going to have a lot of ace high, like maybe ace nine of
You're going to
diamonds.
bet 5.5 and he's going to call with pocket jacks.
So no, this is where I think, and this is why I wanted to go with this hand. We can conclude he either kind of has air or he has a showdown hand, and clubs missed, queen jack, queen nine, all the straight draws missed.
You're going to bet big, right? I mean, assuming
Yeah.
I
So
would want my hand to look like a bluff.
Right. And I guess the way I would phrase it is I don't want to make it look like one or the other, but if I were to bluff, I would blast it here.
Yeah.
And the reason I kind of explain how our hand is basically the nuts right now, I'm going to blast this because I think he would call uh with a 10. So I'm gonna overbet here.
I like it. Okay. So there's 7.8 and you bet 10.8. Okay. I like that as well. Yeah, I like that even better than the 5x or 5 point whatever I said.
Yeah, and the way to think about it too is like if we bet, I'm basically betting 2 times the amount that you had said, which means in the long run, we only need to get called half as frequently to break, like we
So
might lose out on some calls, but I don't think we're going to lose out on very many just by betting bigger here. I think he's going to be pretty inelastic in the sense that he might just call if he has ace three suited, like fourth pair, he might just call that
yeah, yeah.
regardless of. I think if we like 5x the
I
pot,
really
it's
like your logic here. I could improve my game that way. I like that.
but yeah, like so over betting. And I guess one thing to take away here is like, or two things. One thing is that we have an opponent whose range is capped. Based on the logic we went through, he's pretty capped. So he
Because if he bet turn, it probably wouldn't be capped.
exactly he cannot have any strong value unless he literally
Has pocket
he
eights.
pocket eights or 10-8 suited.
Yep.
I guess he maybe checks king eight suited on the turn, but I would expect him to bet that again.
Okay.
So
I agree.
and there are plenty of very natural bluffs we can have too. Also, the second thing is to not necessarily think about your absolute hand strength value, but think about the relative hand strength that you have, where it's like we went through this logic and came to the conclusion that it's essentially like having the nuts or very close to the nuts, where we have our hand is so strong compared to what his range is. We can kind of blast for value, and he's gonna, if he wants to not be super exploitable, he's gonna have to call with some kind of weak bluff catchers.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I unfortunately he did tank, but he decided to fold.
Okay.
So
All right.
curious what he had, but
Yeah. I that's another good hand. I like even though we didn't get the call there, I like it because I do think we're getting value from almost any pair there.
yeah, I agree.
And that's
And
because there's so many missed draws.
yeah, and he did tank, which means that maybe he actually did fold like a pocket
I mean, he
five.
could have had ace high too.
He could have had ace high. Yeah, he
Yeah.
could have rivered an eight. He could have like 7-8 of spades or
Yeah.
whatever. But yeah,
Well played. Well played, Wes. I like it. Those hands were a lot of fun to go over. I think it's important because, again, cash game isn't my specialty. I focus on tournaments primarily. You play a very equal balance of both, I would say. And getting
Mhm.
to dissect hands that where you've studied a lot and spent a lot more time in those streets helps me immensely. And I'm sure the listeners and watchers as well. So I appreciate you going over these hands with us.
Yeah.
Well
Yeah. Should
done.
we wrap it up here?
Yeah, let's go ahead and wrap it up here. We'll go ahead and start off with our next meetup game on Clubs Poker. We have, I believe it's on the 4th of February. That's correct, right? I know that
That's
the 4th
correct.
is a Tuesday and we didn't do it this week, so it's got to be.
Yep.
Did,
No, we did it yesterday. You just weren't even. No, I'm
okay,
kidding.
okay. I call that bluff. But anyways, on let's see, February 4th, we're going to have our next meetup game at 7:30 p.m. Central Time. Make sure to be there. We had a ton of entries in our last one. It was 28 entries or something like that. Mr. Minnesota Player of the Year himself, Leo, won it. Congrats to him. He still got that sweet Discord tag in there, spouting that out there, sir. Was that English that I just said? I have no idea. But
I don't know.
anyways, make sure to meet up for our next meetup game on the 4th of February. Hop in there. Look forward to seeing you guys. It's been a lot of fun lately, so we'll do that. Secondly, if you have not signed up for Clubs Poker yet, please do using our referral link. You can find that in the description of our podcast on our YouTube channel, all that stuff. That helps support the podcast. So if you have not signed up yet, please do so. Doing that. Tertiary, anyways, our Discord. Make sure to hop in our Discord channel. Again, I say this on every episode. It's popping off. People are having good conversations. They're learning, they're studying, they're developing communities and friendships. Hop in there, hang out, say what's up. We all having a good time in the Discord channel. And then again, YouTube channel. This episode will be on our YouTube channel. Link in the description. Can't, emphasize that enough. Am I missing anything, Wes?
No.
I'm not missing. Am I sound like a broken record yet?
Well, let's just say, dude, you're a broken everything, but
All right, fair enough, fair enough. And then I guess lastly, by the 12th of February, or on the 12th of February, that's our planned release date for our Patreon. If you loved today's content, expect a lot more of that, where you can really dive in and learn for really cheap. I mean, again, it's going to be, different tiered subscriptions, usually just a few bucks at the minimum. So, that helps support the podcast. Again, that, we charge nothing for our podcast or don't get paid for it. So if you want to help support the podcast, you can always join our Patreon, which we plan on releasing on the 12th. And I can't wait to get all that content out. That's a lot of fun. And we're going to actually be recording some more of that after this. So
yeah.
Cool, Wes. Well, thanks again for sharing that. Anything last words you want to end it on?
I was just going to say, I don't know if, as this is released on Thursday, Max and we're not going together, but we'll both be playing at Potawatomi this weekend in Milwaukee.
Yeah, the MSPT is finally making its way to Potawatomi.
So if any of you are out there, feel free to come up and say hi to us on break.
Yeah, we definitely like to see that. Wes,
give us all your chips during the tournament. So
I hope you get bent out there, just specifically. But I'm just kidding, brother. If you do, at least to me, that's it. Everybody else, I hope you stack all of them.
Perfect. All right.
Cool, brother. Have a good one. We'll see you guys next week.